going to market and we're going to go sell. And so this is one of the big challenges, especially when you're making the market, where people don't exactly know who the customers are and who's going to respond to this. And so you're out there, you've made the market, you rule, everybody thinks everything's great. But then what happens is the moment you show you can make money, the niche eaters come out. There are people who will try to take away small parts of your business. And guess what? There's too many of them. You can't fight them all. And so, but what ends up happening is, remember the S-curve? Well, guess what? Your customers mature. They change over time. And when they change, the market may move on you. Because guess what? These niche eaters start offering new things that are better than what you offer. And so, if the market moves on you, this is why the fast followers tend to win. The originators of a market are the ones who don't hold out in the long term. Because the fast followers, guess what? They know everything that you did. They're not going to make the same mistakes. They're going to have a much faster learning curve. And they've thought about how to do it better than you can actually do it. And so your hope is that you can hang on to your niche. And that's pretty much what MySpace and Netscape did, even though they got totally trounced. And then, of course, those are companies that don't. And then you just fall off your cloud. You probably remember this slide. So what is it we're trying to do? We're trying to, through our promotion, we're trying to create the perception of our benefits. We want to dictate to them what the preferences are, what are their options, and if that's affecting their choice behavior. And so these are the questions that you ask, and then so why are they going to use the product? And these are the ones that you have to answer through your strategy of the 4 Ps. Distribution, how they're going to acquire it, how they're going to stall it, how they're going to pay for it. Now, the thing is, why my path is from my smallest market, which is my target market, and then I have to think about how is it that I'm going to grow. We know that there are 19 different ways to sell, and so you have to look at all these different channels and think about, okay, what are my metrics for those channels, and what are the trade-offs? What's the cost of it? And guess what? Some channels are going to work and some channels aren't. And then you drop it. The thing is, the natural question that comes up is, Dr. Cho, are you going to teach us how to make a website or whatever that's good for marketing and all? And the thing is, those are things of mechanics, which this class is not about. This class is basically to teach you the general ideas and foundations. So guess what? It's a detail that you already know. Like, okay, I need to set up a website. Well, guess what? You can use, there are all kinds of different services out there, or actually you can go to places like Udemy, and they'll teach you how to do it yourself. So these are basically not about education. This is about training and vocational training. So in terms of guerrilla marketing, how can I do cheap marketing? Because I'm going to market. And so what we're going to do is, who are the people we want to most target? The people who are most passionate. So we're going to go after people in pain, victims, families, mothers, because this is a device that's not well known. We're going to focus on education. How are we going to cross the chasm? To cross the chasm, we're going to need influencers. And so we're going to try to play off contextual events. Because let's face it, tragedies happen all the time. Later on, we'll evolve into brick and mortar stores like the Cabela's and places like that later. But for right now, we're going to focus online. The thing is, to look at a good company that evolved right was Southwest. Southwest originally did point-to-point, and they said, oh, we don't need hubs. Well, yeah, you don't need hubs because you're flying short distances, but guess what? Then Southwest expanded into long distance, and then they made hubs, and then they went international. And so this is a company that evolved, again, from their target market on out. And then you have to experiment, and this is called the Lean Sigma. Now, in terms of the fog, So this is about coordination. And this coordination kills companies. Ideally, you're supposed to be like this. It's like a four-legged race between three people. But what actually happens is something more like that. You get out of step with each other. So what is your role as a marketer in all this? One of the biggest things you need to do is to manage the customer's expectation. One big killer, and actually it's probably the biggest killer of startups, is that you overpromise and underdeliver. You're not managing perception well. The thing is, your early customers, make them your partners. Why? Because if you run into trouble, you're going to be late and you're going to have problems. Guess what? If they feel more like your partners than your customers, they're more likely to be forgiving, and actually give you some slack. And as a marketer, you're going to have to make some hard decisions. There are times you're not going to have the capacity to meet everyone's needs. So guess what? Somebody needs to be thrown overboard, and it's a hard call. But by the same token, you have to look at the way you conduct this, because that is part of building your brand. You build your CRM, so can track all the data that's important to you. You figure out how to cross that chasm. And so in this case, we're going from the liberals to the more moderates. And so we're going to, for this particular product, we're going to focus on influencers and education. And so the thing is, in order to keep growing, what are we doing? We are filling buckets. And so each new customer, or each new market segment, I should say, is a bucket. And so we fill all of those buckets. And then the thing you find out is, gee, in this particular market segment, this is about as well as we're going to do. Then you need another bucket. And again, that's why your growth has a tendency to ripple. And most of all, you go out and you compete and you win. So that's pretty much the story of the entrepreneur's journey. And as you can see, all the elements that you've learned factor into this.